that, today we move on to a discussion that reflects one of the most significant shifts in education today. And that is the evolving role of educators. Now, teachers today are no longer just knowledge providers. They are mentors. They're mentors who are shaping thinking. Innovators who are adapting learning models to a changing world. And game changers who are inspiring purpose and possibility beyond the classroom. So this next panel will explore how educators are influencing mindsets, how they're nurturing curiosity, and preparing learners for not just exams, but for life and for leadership in an increasingly global landscape. So I now please invite our esteemed panelists to join us on stage to do justice to the discussion. We have with us, ladies and gentlemen, Jayaprakash Gandhi, career consultant and analyst. Huge round of applause, please. If we could kindly have Sir join us on stage, so you can take the second seat right here as we continue to set up. All right. And joining him, Dr. Srimathy Kesan, founder and CEO of Space Kidz India and mission director of Shakti SAT. Can we please have Dr. Kesan also kindly join us on stage? All right. Vidhi Mistry is also part of the panel, who's the Executive Director of Partner Relations and Growth with the University of Roehampton, London. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for being here. And Saravanan Periyasamy, Chairman of PERI Educational Institutions, to round out the discussion and offer us a 360-degree perspective. Let's kindly have them on stage as well. All right? We'll settle in for a moment, get our technicals in order, and I'm very much looking forward to this deep dive. And this topic is of deep personal relevance to me, and I'm especially kicked to learn from our highly distinguished panel of industry heavyweights. So with that, I'm going to migrate on over so we can kickstart the discussion. Thank you for bearing with us. Are we ready to start? All right. I think we've got a live demo also in the mix here, basis the props that I see on stage. So I'm very much looking forward to that. It is a complete surprise element. But as I mentioned in my introductory remarks, all right, there are several best practices or assumptions with respect to the Indian education system that it's now become time to challenge. And who's better positioned to challenge those assumptions or revisit those assumptions than the very educators who are transforming its landscape? So it only made sense to do a deep dive and get their views on what needs to be done, how, and by when. All right? So with that, I'm going to do a deep dive and essentially, if I could, Mr. Jayaprakash, start the conversation with you. So I'm perhaps stating the obvious here, but in the state of Tamil Nadu, pursuing engineering or STEM often becomes a default career choice, right? Rather than one that is an informed decision that is influenced by the educator. It seems like more a result of oftentimes societal pressure because it seems like the right thing to do. So how do you expect, or how might you like to see educators involved to become more decision-making influencers rather than strictly subject matter experts alone in the eyes of the student?
Very good morning. Thanks, timesnow, for giving this opportunity successfully. In fact, the question goes that, yes, why students are preferred more on engineering side and they go only for specific courses. Really sad. If you look at the last year's admissions, almost 70% of students have taken related to computer science. But when they come out, they will be flooded with computer science, one, because of the influence. The manpower is getting reduced. It doesn't mean that computer science doesn't have opportunity, but the need has to come down. The student doesn't know about the other emerging careers. I always say to the students, even AI doesn't give a right information to us, including Google. Many students feel that. Now, I tell you, when I go to so many schools, When I asked them what are the new courses have been introduced in India, in engineering itself, how many of us know that we have a wonderful course in BTech in law? Nobody knows.
Nobody, sir.
BTech in law. We have BTech in climate change. 70% of global research is happening in global warming. We don't know about it. Still students think about computer science, ECE, EEE, mechanical. I'm not saying it doesn't have scope. There are emerging. Railway engineering is coming. Strategic engineering is coming. Lot of IIM has gone into the undergraduate courses. When I asked, even in city like Chennai, when I go to schools for career guidance, first of all, the teachers never allow, because teachers think that getting marks is the first priority. Getting marks, and if they don't have a right place to go, I don't think the marks what you got for your children doesn't have any worth.
Right.
That's people never realize. Now I'm not saying you please call me. Please remember we need to know it. When we go and ask, see even the top schools, when I ask, how many of them applied for IIM undergraduate program, which has been introduced last year, is fantastic. Hardly one. Imagine Chennai city top school. Imagine when you go to rural side, tier 2, tier 3 cities. Opportunity doesn't. I tell you, if you have a Google here, put new engineering course in India. Can you show me one course what I said?
Probably not, sir.
Definitely not. I can prove it here. No, please remember, see, the very sad part of it, the top corporates in the world decide what we should know, what we should learn. This is the biggest thing. That's why China grows up. China never allows all these corporates to come. Data piracy is the biggest problem in India. Unless we save our thing. Do you think the WhatsApp can go in China or in Korea? No. They don't allow. I'm not against WhatsApp or anything. Why not India create? India couldn't create even one LLM model right now to be really precise about AI tools. We are not doing. We think that AI is thing. No, that is the reason. In short, I can tell you, in India, we teach 19th century curriculum by the wonderful 20th century teachers to the 21st smart students. Do you think it's going to work? Never work.
Oh, a very relatable example, sir. And thank you for sharing that. And I want to sort of build on some of your observations. And now coming to you, Dr. Kesan. All right? So, Dr. Kesan, your groundbreaking work with ShakthiSAT essentially has proved the point that thousands of girls from all sorts of socioeconomic backgrounds can play a critical role when it comes to a global space mission. All right? What does that tell us about the limitations of conventional classroom teaching as we know it? Your thoughts. And I would also love for you to respond to, Dr. Jayaprakash's comments, and if you share the same sentiment, ma'am.
That's a brilliant one. Thank you for that. Good morning, everybody. Congratulations, all the award winners. Lovely to see all women here, at least who represent about 30%.
Easily, if not more.
Yes. So you know why I started with that remark? Because that is the sad reality. I'm proud and happy that 51% of them go to the master's program. But beyond that, startup culture, industries, all this per se, I think we just have about 19 to 20%, if I have to tell you globally, with regards to deep tech industry that I belong to, the space industry, and 2 to 3% of women in the leadership roles. And this industry, there is a very, very thin difference, thin line between missile and a rocket.
And what is that, ma'am?
So if I see this room is filled with 70% of black jackets, meaning men, and 30% of beautiful women, so I consider them with pink and red jackets. If this is the case, we're going to be having more wars, less empathy. So that is the reason we need more women in this particular industry, because space is the future. Everything is being brought, developed, data shared, everything to do with space industry. So for the Indian independence, 75th Indian independence, I thought without villages, there is no independence. So what do? Bring in the girls from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. build a satellite, show it to the world that girls are also made for deep economy, not only home economics. So that was a powerful message sent across the globe. Today, the impact is played so much that these children who would have otherwise been married, deep pockets of India I'm talking about, they have moved to closer towns and started pursuing science as their career. They want to do something for the country. They want to contribute for the country. So you need to create that impact. Somebody needs to start. And that was SAT.
Let's see it.
This is the engineering model of the satellite that went up a ISRO's SSLV rocket. Now, why only India? Because women have challenges everywhere across the globe. And this industry needs more women, kept on ringing. And I said, let's interact with women across the globe. And what I found was the same answer. So that's where ShakthiSAT, SAT means satellite. So Shakti satellite, women power, which can produce peace globally. We are not following any SDGs. Here, I would say, I would vouch for what my fellow panelists and most respected Mr. Gandhi mentioned. We need to create our own rules. India needs to be there on the top. We have beautiful academicians. We have professionals. We have thinkers. Why not we have our own set of rules for our own children? We need to give them jobs, create jobs here in India. I am not proud that my child is going to the United States or United Kingdom to do her or his masters. I want them to do here. I want them to do something for the country. Patriotism doesn't start with singing the national anthem. Patriotism should be imprinted in your soul, and you need to give back to the society. Needs to be taught right from as a kindergarten child. We don't
Huge round of applause, please. It's deeply deserved.
And we don't need to follow any SDGs. I'm openly and proudly saying that because we can create IDGs, Indian goals. That is Mission ShakthiSAT. 12,000 girls, 108 countries, all small countries who feel they cannot have a space office also. Creating that first-time learners straight away, building a spacecraft to the moon. And that's going to happen 2026 August from India.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, I personally have goosebumps when we say we are celebrating change makers here at the timesnow in India Education Summit. We're not just talking the talk.
Show you this.
We're walking the walk.
Yes, this is it. 108 countries, 12,000 girls, one dream and one spacecraft to the moon. Moon is an icon of peace. Moon is an icon of women, where we say we have challenges just like waxing and waning of the moon. Yet women spread that light, spread smiles, laughter, peace and happiness. And education can bring all this to them.
All right, huge round of applause. Oh God. This panel is really offering a 360-degree perspective. And with that, I'll switch gears and I'll come to you, Vidhi. You're in an interesting role in that the University of Roehampton, London, you manage long-term academic partnerships. All right? So without a shred of bias, ma'am, how well prepared is the Indian graduate today to compete on the global stage? You know, I know it's a broad question. I'm asking you to talk in broad generalities, but only you can do justice to this particular topic.
Thank you so much. First of all, wow, what an energy this morning, now afternoon, that has been set by my fellow panelists. I'm a proud Indian myself, and I've been supporting many universities, not just in London, but in Australia, in India as well. And I've had the privilege of working alongside thousands of Indian students and, of course, students from across the globe. What I personally feel is that Indian students are incredibly talented, and they are academically sound and they're very hardworking. So there is no gap over there, there's no gap in terms of knowledge or talent or hard work.
So then where do the gaps lie?
I'll come to that. I feel the gap is lack of confidence. And again, the lack of confidence comes because the way the upbringing is. Indian students are dependent on answers. It's ready-made answers that schools and institutions used to give in the past, all bookish knowledge, which I'm not saying is bad, but they were not exposed to real-world challenges. And due to which they personally feel that we're not confident because we are not exposed to those challenges.
Yeah, interesting.
And they're not independent. Now I'll give you a very basic example. I have had students who went to London for the first time, who had not even gotten out of their cities. But when they landed into the city, they had no choice. They can't go back because they've invested 20 to 25 lakhs.
Sure.
They had to figure their lives on their own. So that was the starting point of being independent. Then they went to classrooms. The academic professor in London said, you have to write a 5,000 words SOP. The student was like, what does that mean? How do I do it? I was not taught that. In my school, they used to tell, this is the textbook, this is the paragraph, this is where you'll get your answers from. What do I do? Anyways, they tried to figure it out. They managed to provide a 5,000 word SOP and they cleared. But what we fail to understand is that independence element comes in when you force them to think rather than telling them how to think. And the World Economic Forums, Forbes, all of these big people are saying critical thinking is the essential skill now, is going to be the essential skill in the future as well. So knowledge is very good, but knowledge can expire. Agility, being adaptable and being able to think on the spot is what is going to be needed in the future, because a lot of things are evolving. We are now in this world of AI. Tomorrow there will be something else. If you're not adaptable and if you can't think fast, I think we will be really back and we won't be able to grow. And just one more point to what Dr. Kesan said, that be patriotic. India should have their own rules. India should lead. And that can only come where we are not constantly following the West. Be confident in who you are. Be confident in your accent. And be adaptable. Keep learning. And you will shine, is what I would say.
Well, Vidhi, thank you so much for adding that candor and that color to the conversation. And I want to build on some of your observations coming to you now, Mr. Saravanan. Vidhi just talked about confidence. And it's been said time and time again that while Indian students are globally recognized for their technical prowess, when it comes to decision-making or a sense of self-belief or ownership, perhaps there's room for improvement. Perhaps there's a tendency to take the back foot. How do you respond to that, and where do the solutions lie? What more can educators do to bridge that gap?
Oh, thank you for having me here. Good morning, everyone. I hope it's still good morning. Good afternoon, then. Okay, so see, educators, the role is changing continuously. It used to be how to make sure a student gets enrolled.
Right.
How to make sure the student passes the exams and gets a degree or gets a certificate or diploma, walks out. Then it slowly changed to the educators should take responsibility for the student's career in terms of, okay, does he or she gets a first job, first opening, right? Directions,
right.
Guidance. Now, slowly it is changing into, because of the new technologies and social media, the connectivities, knowledge which is going around, students, they don't need direction like that. But what they are lacking, as she has been saying, confidence. It's an education which provides self-confidence to a student is the education. Whatever that is. He may be, when I keep using he, so you have to apologize, that's my habit.
That's all right.
So he may be somebody who is taking an arts and science classes. Maybe somebody is training himself to be a doctor. Somebody is training to be a lawyer, an engineer. But we will know how to get the curriculum, teach the curriculum to them. He will take references from internet. He will learn, write the exams, get the degree. He will move on.
Sure.
But what we have to do, because we have a captive audience, I always say they are a captive audience for us, right? We have few thousand captive audience in our campus. So what we can do or what we will do will make or break their life in the future, right? Every institution will get them a degree. Every institution, if we like it or not, will show them what are the internet sites they have to go so they can apply for a job. But what we should be doing is definitely give them self-confidence. How do we do that? First of all, every human being, especially when they are between 18 to 22, 17 to 21, they are here with us. Their brain is evolving, right? Everybody says, according to the doctors, up to 25-year-old people are evolving, understanding, learning. So when they are learning, we have to give them the space to learn and grow. We shouldn't break their confidence. I'll tell you an example.
Please.
You continue.
Yes, please, sir.
Okay, I'll tell you an example. When so my son was born and brought up in US. So when he was in preschool, maybe in the first grade, there was a lot of complaints from the school saying that there is something called circle time.
Okay.
The kids will be around the table. I don't know whether you know. I went to a government school. I don't know about it.
I've actually studied in the US, sir, so I am familiar with circle time.
You are familiar with that. So when we peek into a class, when 4 or 5, 7 kids around the table sitting down in a chair, only my son will be on the top of the table, right? Moving around, dancing around. So the teachers are complaining to me. My wife is every day in the night, it is your responsibility what you're doing. So we had a meeting with the principal and she said a beautiful thing. She said, teachers are new, they are complaining, but I'm not complaining, right? If you want to have accountants, if you want to have clerks who will follow instruction, then you will be following all the rules. If you want to have a leader who is fearless, he'll be on the top of the table only.
Wow, what a beautifully personal story.
So if there are people who are understanding that, so that really opened my mind. We cannot keep picking and choosing people who are looking different, behaving different, not following your instructions, and put them down, break their confidence. What we are telling the kids, you follow the rules, otherwise I'm going to break your confidence, right? So that is not correct. I'm not saying let's all be indisciplined. That is not what I'm trying to say. There is a small line between being indisciplined or being spoken out. There's a difference there.
Absolutely.
As long as the educators understand it, keep encouraging the kids in the right direction, we should be able to give the self-confidence to them. They should believe we will be able to excel. I may be bad in math, but I know what I'm doing in history. I may be very bad in engineering, but I know what I'm doing in law, right? We will find out, they will find out, give them the room. There are two things we can do. Either we can give them the self-confidence, or at least we can stop destroying what they have.
Correct.
So as long as we give them an education which provides them the self-confidence, I think we will create future leaders. As everybody says, we will not be the country which is looking outside, waiting for the external verification, without racism, waiting for a white man's appreciation. So waiting for a New York Times, a column which is appreciating my effort. As long as we have that clarity in our mind, as long as we give that self-confidence to our students, our countrymen and women, of course, right? We will be able to do excellent. As she has been saying, we will have to look within. We set our standards. We try to excel in our standards. We should never look for somebody else's standard. So that comes with self-confidence. So where it begins, it should begin in schools and colleges by providing the self-confidence to the kids, not to break it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Yeah, please. I think our panelists have some comments back to that. So, all right, if we're sharing a mic, then I will let you start, Vidhi, and then hand it over to Dr. Kesan.
I will just pass the mic. Just one point that I wanted to make. I completely agree. And we've been chatting. So he studied in the US, I've studied in the UK. So it's very easy for us to understand this. But to simplify, I think the element of mentorship, where we help students identify who they are, where their skills are great, and how they could be positioned to be creative, that would absolutely help. And like have your son, you can sit on the table, of course, don't be indisciplined, and be creative, respect what the norms are. I think that is what is required. And mentorship is something that can help students be more creative. I don't know if you had that privilege of getting mentors when you studied in the US, but it's quite common in Western countries or when you study abroad that you have that personal element. And you know these tests these days about know your skills, work on your strengths rather than your weaknesses. That is very important. So that is what I wanted to add. Sorry, I'm going to pass the mic.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Please, Dr. Kesan.
Well, that's a brilliant point brought out by both of you. But here with the Indian context, I would like to say, it starts with the parents. More than the schools, it starts with the parents. Boys are kept repeatedly saying that, study, get good marks, have a good job, good wife, good house, good children, you'll be buried. That is goodness. Women, you be a good girl, learn the home skills, cook, because you're going to somebody else's house. So, both the genders have always been taught, you are made for somebody, you have to work for somebody, work for somebody, work for somebody. Where is the confidence here? Where am I a human being that I have my own perspectives to build a huge industry of mine, to ideate my own ideas and bring it to life? Who is giving that support? Why we lose confidence is because if we have to go to the US and UK to study, or Australia, huge loans are the barriers for these children. So if they fail to, fail to set their loans off, parents get upset. Suicides, drugs, these are the repercussions that happen because of that. So they lose their confidence even before building their confidence.
And thank you to our panelists for really painting a very honest picture. And I want to take the conversation back to you now, Mr. Jayaprakash. Essentially, we all live in a social media era. And when you look at Next Gen India, in many scenarios, they trust the guidance of a social media influencer, more so than an educator that's within their own circle, that they interact with on a daily basis. So, could you perhaps tell me what is it that that educator provides that a digital platform or digital personality alone cannot?
Really sad. In fact, even UN report recently said 92% of a 12th standard students decide a career without proper information. This is mainly due to the influence of social media. The students doesn't understand. Somebody sitting in social media is guiding is not a Mother Teresa, first of all. Right? See, even I have more than 2 lakh followers. I can't even make 10,000 rupees. I'll ask you, will you work without income? No. So somebody is influencing them.
Right.
This is what the biggest problem is. See, they come and talk about which institution pays them, which institution goes for it. Now, this is what's happening, and students getting carried away with those. That's why I tell you one small statistics information. Last year in Tamil Nadu engineering admissions, 3,994 students, to be exact, really lost their wonderful career opportunity because they believed something in YouTube or some social media. They took a wrong choice of order. They had to go to the next round of counseling. They lost heavily. So this is not right. I tell them, even when I say when I go to schools, I tell them, please, when I say even you verify. In Tamil, there is a wonderful saying, Kannal kanpadum poi, kadal ketpadum poi, thivira visarippade mei. So we never do this. We never tell the children. And also I tell the institutions here, no, see, before we used to prepare our children for knowledge ready, then came industry ready. Now we say future ready, but I say we need to make our children revolutionary ready. Lot of revolutions are coming in this world. Unless we make them, otherwise we'll stay behind. So I tell students here, please, I tell the teachers here, tell them not to believe completely. Even if they watch it, make sure they verify, then they take a correct decision. Because remember, my dear students, some of them here, when you enter a career in 2026, the opportunity, job, challenges, technology will be totally different when you exit the course in 2030. We need to prepare our children for the future. Only the people who knows really about what is happening should come and talk about it. That's very good. I like sometimes, I'm seeing there are some, in the countries like China brought up very strong regulations in social media. If anybody gives the wrong information, they can be sued properly. So you need to bring some regulations in social media to make sure that our children doesn't get diversified and they don't take wrong decisions.
All right, creating a revolutionary ready next gen India. So coming to you now, Dr. Kesan. All right, when we look at the space age or when we look at developments in that particular field, you see long development cycles, you see repeated failures. There is no sense of instant gratification. That is simply the nature of the work. But none of these activities or behaviors are ones we inherently reward in the classroom. There's always us being penalized for being incorrect. And if one is to study space, history tells you that failure is the norm rather than the exception, right? So what needs to change, within the four walls of our classrooms such that curiosity and resilience is nurtured by the educator and failure is not punished?
Beautiful, beautiful question. And I think it's a continuation of the confidence, I think, So whatever you mentioned is again going to the same word, confidence. If you're not going to build something that fails, then how do you know that you need to grow? So growth starts with a failure, and especially with the space industry, which is absolutely brutal. It's very, very brutal because, you build in a satellite with crores of rupees. One small error in your code, boom, that's it.
Right.
So you need to be, the quality control is extremely important. But when we started, this space cannot be taught in textbooks. I keep repeating this everywhere. Space cannot be taught in textbooks. You need to experiment. You need to explore. The very first time when we wanted to send a balloon satellite, a high altitude balloon in 2015, you had so many breakers. They said, if you want to do this, Dr. Kesan, 10 lakhs bond. If, any plane is damaged because of this, you will be behind bars. So the negativity is imposed even before you think about a positive thing. I said, science has to take that first leap. It's okay, even if I have to be behind bars, I don't care. So that's where we took that first bold step. And here again, these children were all from the tier 2, tier 3 towns wherein internet was a luxury. So we had to actually go to the libraries to get some papers printed from all these research centers, study through repeatedly, and we built the satellite. So today, we've built 27 space missions, and all by students. So it is the belief and trust and platform. Before the VCs and startup culture came into space, we pioneered. I know it is very difficult. When we built the SAT, the world's lightest satellite that went up a NASA Stereo Orion rocket, I had the PES people asking me an audacious question, oh, where is the courier bill? Right. Did you even literally send the satellite to the US? Such were the questions that will put you down. But if you think of those negatives, you can never be leaving a legacy, right? But not every child is brought up to create a legacy. Why? Give them that confidence. Again, I would say in the classroom, we are deciding an elephant. We are comparing an elephant to a fish, to a rabbit. If that is the case, where is the growth? So everything needs to change drastically in the education system.
Fair enough, fair enough. And I'll come to the two of you with my last and final question now. We're a little tight on time, but nonetheless want to hear from you. So Vidhi, look, I think a huge part of competing on the global stage in today's environment is having a sensitivity to other cultures, an intercultural fluency, if I could call it that, and an ability to adapt. But rather than that starting, once someone has left the country and is now in a foreign environment for the first time, when does that nurturing begin such that it actually reaps the fruit once you're on a platform where it's required?
I think it begins when you decide you're going there. And I keep saying the minute you land into whichever country, your true personal development starts. I think professional development, every university gives irrespective of the country. But personal development comes when you are outside of your comfort zone. So that begins from day one. And
there's no way to prepare for it necessarily until you're actually in that environment.
I think the only way to prepare for it, just be open to learning. Learning never stops. And, maybe schools, universities, that education would stop at the age of 21. But overall learning is not going to stop. We are in this world where evolution is constant.
Right.
So if you're open to learning, you're adaptable, you're agile, then yes, you're prepared to everything. And I always say this to my students, that in the future, it's not the most knowledgeable who will be successful, but it's the most agile and open to learning is the one that will be successful. So yes.
Brilliant. And Saravanan, I'll come to you with my last and final question before we move on here at the summit. And sir, what is the single fundamental skill that will prove to be most pivotal or transformative across India's education landscape going forward?
My opinion, based on my own learning, is learning people skills, period. It's not learning English, French, German, no. Learning people skills. That is what's going to make or break somebody in the future. Either from the classroom all the way to the courtroom, to the political arena, anywhere you want. Either you're a businessman or you're working for a businessman. People skills is number one. That's what we have to provide to the kids. How to say politely to no, to somebody no. It could be a friend who is drinking and you want to be part of it, but you don't want to drink. You have to know how to politely say no, right? It could be a manager who is basically asking you to do something which you believe is not correct thing to do, how you politely say no, right? That's part of people skills. That's an example of people skills. So learning people skills, practicing it, and keep yourself open, as she said, keep it open for continue to learn new things and continue to unlearn what you learned somewhere else. That open-mindedness will help you throughout your life. It is not going to be only in classroom, everywhere.
Saravanan, Vidhi, Dr. Kesan and Jayaprakash. Please, sir, please.
I'll only rather add up with him, sir, with one more. If somebody asks me what is the best skill you need to learn, learning how to learn is the biggest skill you need to learn in this coming world.
Well, with that, I think I'd like to thank all of our panelists for sharing such a rich range of insights from their personal journey and their professional journey alike. Thank you for adding that depth and breadth to the conversation. A huge round of applause for them once more, ladies and gentlemen. Sure. And if I could please have my colleague Kalpana Sharma, editor with timesnow.in, present a small token of appreciation to our panelists. I think it's a lot of color they've added to the conversation, and we'd like to recognize you especially. I think this panel more than did justice to the conversation just by holding nothing back, and what a 360-degree perspective we received. This is what the Education Summit is all about, ladies and gentlemen, celebrating stalwarts from South India who are transforming education as we know it. Thank you, ma'am.
And one last thing to all the teachers, principals, if I take the permission to do that.
Sure.
Everything starts with you. Be it the chairman, principal, teachers. We need life. Every day when the child looks at you, you need to bring that confidence, that happiness, that cheer. No pressure, smile. So keep that smile within you. Keep cheering every little accomplishment of your students, and we can build a strong India. Jai
Huge
Hind.
round of applause. Jai Hind. Huge round of applause. All right. Thank you. Thank you once again.